How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lo4f, and today I'm going to go and do a contract called Sawmill Renovation, because I was flicking through the different missions and contracts. I'm just kind of leaning towards doing the ones first where you actually unlock usable stuff, and for this one I'm going to unlock the Sawmill at the end of it. It's in the middle, said that weird, middle set of contracts. Yeah, and it's a bit of a simple one, but you unlock a sawmill, and I know up in the top right there's a warehouse where you can craft consumables, and it needs a crazy long list of stuff. I think you need like long planks, one set of long planks, one metal beams maybe, and then one metal rolls or something. It's quite costly just for one consumable, which I believe is like a one slot cargo thing as well. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's nowhere yet I've got where I can get long planks from, and I was assuming that the sawmill was going to be the answer to that problem. So just to make sure, because I'm like delivering different materials to different places, I didn't want to checkmate myself into a position where I've run out of cargo. They've probably, hopefully, you'd think that they've covered all their options. Just so you can't physically like checkmate yourself into not having enough cargo and you haven't got various stuff unlocked. But yeah, just because I don't even want to risk getting into that situation, I'm just trying to unlock stuff while I've actually definitely got the cargo to supply it. Because for this I need one cabin and 4 service spare parts. And in each of the warehouses on this map, well, in both of them I've got no cabins left because I've used them for other missions. And then each warehouse has 3 service spare parts. But in Burned Forest there is a warehouse there that has 4 service spare parts and a cabin left. And again, yeah, I know there's a couple of other missions that need a cabin, but I think what that unlocks is probably not necessarily as important. Like one of them I think is a water tower, which I'm obviously going to have to do it at some point, but I'm not desperate for a water tower, because on this map, particularly Albany River, both actual water towers, not the water booms, the water towers you fix are they're both pretty close really to like another water tower that we already had. Yeah, and for this one I'm using, what code name did this thing have? The Western Star, something like 1430 something or other. It's the one of the Wolfpack trucks. This is the one that's got like a longer chassis. You can see there it's got 2 drop axle things in the middle of the truck, which I've dropped down at the minute because apart from this section right now I'm on, for now it's like mostly road driving. That's why I picked this truck really, because I can follow the road all the way along to Burned Forest, and then once I'm on that side of the map I'll show you like the route I take when I'm on that map. I can't draw blue lines until I'm on the map. Yeah, most of that is also highway driving, so it's not too bad really. And this vehicle, I mean, again, they've fiddled around with stuff clearly. This vehicle feels like pretty weak going along these roads, but I can see like every now and then it lets you get fast enough to where you get into like 7th and 8th. It's like you got to break this resistance barrier. It's a bit like how the Jeff Special works, where it's like in high range you've got a certain speed, but if you go faster than the high range gear and then slam it in high range, you kind of get an even faster boosted high range, which is pretty much uncontrollable for the most part. Yeah, but and their solution seems to be sort of breaking the gearbox, or the amount of torque you get almost feels like they've made vehicles too weak to climb up to speed, and it ends up like just not making the trucks feel very nice, because you've got less powerful, more powerful trucks, but when you use the powerful stuff you want to feel like it's actually like ripping its way along the terrain, whereas yeah, everything's feeling pretty weak these days. And I think what they used to do, which I don't know if they've stopped doing it, but it just seems the kind of the way they've broken the gearbox and everything feels more obvious now in the game. But if they just did a speed cap, because when you are actually allowed to go up to like 7th and 8th gear, you do get a bit skiddy in this game. Like, it's not like you're really connected to the map very well, so you do start floating around. And maybe that's a possibility on why they've kept the gearboxes like they have, where it's a bit awkward and it rarely lets you get up to that speed, because of like yeah, the trucks then sort of behaving pretty unrealistically, like they're slipping around on ice. But in that case I'd rather they just add a speed cap, so even though you've got plenty of torque and you're pulling up through the gears and all the rest of it, yeah, just cap me at like just under where it starts skidding around, really, because there's still some vehicles that even at full speed they're a bit slower than some others, but they kind of sit at a nice balance where it's they've got some decent pace and it feels like you've got all the torque and all the rest of it, but without going into a crazy high speed mode. Yeah, I'm going to follow the road up, kind of got to go near enough to the top of the map, loop back round onto this road. This warehouse in Burn Forest has got the 1 cabin and 4 service spare parts, and then carry on round the wiggly road and drop it off here. Now, I noticed at this point there's like, you've got the arrow pointing up at the warehouse I've got to grab the stuff from, and then I've got to drop it off here, but for some reason there's a medium planks showing up in the sawmill that's got like an arrow on it as if I'm supposed to pick it up. I turned the mission off and the arrow went, turned the mission back on and it came back, so I think that's just some error, because obviously you only need service spare parts and a cabin. Like, I don't see where the medium planks come into it, unless maybe it's it might be one of the materials needed possibly to build a cabin, so maybe it was kind of hinting towards that. I could collect the materials, go back to Albany River, build a cabin at the same place in the top right where you can build the consumables as well. It might be because of that, but I'm not sure. Seems a bit odd. And I mean, long story short, when I eventually delivered all the stuff, it just disappears. I didn't have to do anything with the medium planks. And I brought a crane on this one. That's kind of why I went with this chassis rather than the slightly shorter, like, is it 1424 truck? Just because, yeah, even though I actually prefer the other truck because I don't like these drop down axles too much, but this one just has a long enough chassis where it can have the crane, the sideboard and a trailer as well, so it's pretty handy when stuck and have that. I was looking around, I was going to use the Tatra Phoenix as well the other day and possibly tonight, but I just kind of figured this mission was a bit easy really for that. But yeah, the Tatra Phoenix, you can't even have a saddle low on it, which I think is a bit extreme because it's not even got massive tyres really, and I wouldn't say it looks like it sits incredibly high. I'm pretty sure they could fit a saddle low on there without it being too tall to like reverse under the trailers. But yeah, that's it's a shame because there's quite a few situations. I do quite like the Tatra Phoenix. It's one of the more decent usable trucks they've given us in the various, like, you get a few new trucks at each phase. But yeah, it's just not got like many add-ons. You can't really run many setups with it. It's certainly like you can't have a crane, or it's got the big crane, but then you can't have a sideboard, and yeah, it's all a bit awkward. You can see there I got a bit fast, kind of the trailer started drifting, so again, if that's what they're trying to avoid, I get that, but I think they need to, or a simpler way, yeah, it would just be a speed cap instead of just feeling like the trucks are broken. It just ends up not feeling as nice when you drive them. It's, I don't know if it's like maybe because for those of us that have had the game long enough, have already been used to like the different feeling where they feel sort of better when something's sort of taken away in a game and nerfed. It just once you're already used to what you originally got, it's never too good when it feels like it's now been given back weaker than it used to be. I mean, even now you can see it's just, I'm flooring it obviously the entire time, but it's never really climbing the gears. It doesn't really want to get up to speed. So now I'm on the this is like the last little section going along dirt road, so I'm gonna pick those axles up now. I don't think it matters too much either way, to be honest. The steering even seemed fine on this truck. So sometimes when you put those axles down, it can sort of, there's quite a lot of wheels pointing forwards at that point, so when you try and steer, sometimes it can sort of make you understeer because the amount of wheels that are just still trying to grip and go straight ahead, but it didn't really seem to matter with this one. But yeah, I just put them down along the road driving because sort of thought, why not? I'm not really going to hit too many bumps. But yeah, now I'm in the dirt. It's just when they sit low, you can end up getting beached on your own like droppable axles, and it sort of stops the power being able to reach the rears as well. And I have to say as well, this truck has actually felt pretty decent, to be honest, going along these dirt roads. I mean, high gear, it's keeping the power. I still feel like it's probably wheel spinning a bit here and there, bleeding a little bit, but it's ticking along, yeah, at a pretty nice pace there. I thought it'd be a little bit worse, especially that I've not got muds or anything. I've put the chained version on just because on this truck you can have like all-terrains and off-road or chained, but yeah, there's no great version of tyres anyway, so pretty much like the chain just, you get an extra ice rating, and again I think the chains help here and there. Yeah, because I've got not a lot of room on this truck. Once I've loaded all this stuff, 6 lots of cargo, I just moved the loaf back to the, he's sitting on the ramps at the back at the minute, which, for those of you, I don't know if some of you might not know, you can pack the loaf, like when the ramps are down, you can just pack him on the back there, so he's not falling off, he's staying on, and it doesn't really matter the ramps. I did actually lift the ramps a little bit, and the legs have like been pushed up a bit. That's what she said. Yeah, but like, if anything, it's going to drag a little bit, but it didn't seem to make any difference. Again, like I say, even along this route as well, I was pretty happy with how like the pace this thing was keeping along here. I was expecting, yeah, worse. And the axles seem to have lifted high enough where that doesn't really become much of an issue either. Because this truck's got fairly small tyres on it, really. I think they might even be 44s, which are pretty small compared to some of the trucks we get. And sometimes, yeah, trucks with smaller wheels, they just kind of sit quite low. The chassis, the fuel tanks, everything sits quite low, and it can sort of beach itself quite easy. But to be fair, it didn't really feel like much of an issue on this mission. I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah, it's a nice speed, a good balance of where I'm not going hell for leather, where I'm rallying and flying over jumps and all the rest of it. But like I say, I want to be going quick enough to where I've actually got to pay a bit of attention. That's, as I've said before, when you go like 2 miles an hour, it's just a bit boring because you're not really risking anything at that point. You're just sort of squeezing the throttle and waiting to slowly crawl along. Must be what it feels like to be a slug for a living, or a snail. Keep cutting around a few little mud patches like that, but again, I think for the most part, even now, it looked like it was going pretty slow there, but I am still in high gear. Kept it pinned, it was gripping enough, which again, that's where I think the chain just helped dig in a bit more. I can't really do anything to prove it. Well, again, I got the fastest time using chained on a contest I did a while back, after about 300 attempts as well, so pretty thoroughly tested. But yeah, according to the stats, it doesn't line up, but I don't know. I just always feel like I get a bit of extra grip bonus with them on. And yeah, so, like I say, that whole road off-roading bit was actually a pretty nice drive. I thought it'd fight me a little bit more. And yeah, this is a sawmill. We can see those medium planks just sort of on the left that it's saying I need to collect, but I don't. Blew something up at the sawmill. Yeah, dropped 4 service spare parts off, 1 cabin, done. And now you can see there's no, you know, arrow or anything on those medium planks. They just, the thing faded away. Yeah, it was only about £5 grand for completing the mission. Not great, to be honest. It should have probably been nearer 8 or something. Yeah, the main thing is it says access to location and warehouse unlocked, but it's the same thing. You just unlock this sawmill basically, which, like I say, now means when I access it, I can get long planks, medium planks, and is it just wooden planks? Yeah. So 4 slot, 2 slot, and 1 slot cargo. But that's now all the wood sorted. So when I need to build, like, yeah, the consumables and that, which I've noticed a couple of missions that need them, and I don't think there's anywhere on the map so far that you can actually get consumables that are already built. I think it's going to try and force us to craft all of them. And at this point, I just wanted to move the truck out of the way. I loaded up some long planks because I believe that is one of the ingredients needed for those consumables. Yeah, just wanted to get this out of the way of the sawmill, so I kind of figured turn it around. Also wanted to see if this ramped flatbed trailer's still a bit of a troll when you turn it around. And the steering angle on this was actually pretty nice. And then now, see, your trailer used to tip quite a lot doing that. I mean, maybe it's helping with the goddamn horse on the back. It wouldn't surprise me. He is a professional. Also found a GMC 9500, whatever it's called. Pretty decent truck though. It's got, I think, like a short login thing on it. But yeah, park it up and we're done. And yeah, that's about it for today. Like I say, it's Sawmill unlocked. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope it helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks to my Patreon members. get yourself a life because he's a beast, and I'll be back soon.